To call an episode of Doom Patrol weird is a bit redundant. They're all weird, that's kind of their charm. But this episode was definitely in competition for one of the weirdest. Also, given the subject matter of parts of this episode, I'm not sure how I'm going to do a YouTube-friendly review of this episode, but I'm going to try. Hello everyone, I'm DanTheMan, and before I get into the episode proper, I do want to address something. Last episode, I remarked how good the actress playing Dorothy was doing for a child actress, and it turns out that there's a very good reason for that. She's not a child actress. Abigail Shapiro, who plays Dorothy, is actually 20 years old. When I first found this out, due to a comment left in the last video, I was really confused because I looked up Abigail Shapiro, and it turns out there's a singer who also is named Abigail Shapiro, and looking at that woman, I had no idea how she could have passed for 11. I was even more confused when I found out that she was 5'7". But it turns out there's an actress named Abigail Shapiro, who obviously is who plays Dorothy, who is 20 years old. She has a bone defect. I read up a little on it. I don't know much, so I'm not going to try to claim to be an expert on it. But apparently it's part of the reason she looks like an adolescent, despite being very much an adult. I actually was a little bit happier knowing that going into this episode, or rather watching this episode, because given some of the scenes here, even though Dorothy wasn't in the racy scenes, I definitely felt better knowing that they didn't have an underage kid on set during the filming of this episode. So on to the episode itself. I did like the Danny the Street part of the storyline. I like seeing the Dannys again. They were a lot of fun last season, so it was good to see them this season also. It was a natural way to heal Danny, but it was also a good way to bring them back. I also like seeing Flex Metallo again. The actor who plays him does a great job in making the character likable. It can be real easy to come up as sort of a tool with the character like that, but he's got a charisma and a likability that just makes Flex seem like the guy everybody would want to hang around with. I also like the scenes with Danny and Dorothy together. It never ceases to amaze me with Danny the Street, or I guess Danny the Brick, or I don't know, Danny the Party Bus after this episode, but it never seems to amaze me how good they do with making that character feel so alive and feel so full of emotions, despite the fact it's really nothing but a bunch of CGI letters on signs, yet you really can feel what the character's feeling. And Danny's scenes with Niles and with Dorothy, you just really felt the emotion of the scene. You really found Danny a likable character, despite the fact they are barely really a character. I mean, it's not like an actor plays him, obviously. I was glad to see Cyborg back. I was a little worried after last episode that he was going to spend most of this season off by himself on the romance storyline. Not that I have a problem with romance storylines, it just is, I just really didn't think it worked as well as when he was interacting with the rest of the group. He's kind of the straight man of the group. I guess Niles is sort of the straight man of the group, but Cyborg definitely fits the role a lot more so. So the show was definitely missing something, not having him interacting with the rest of the crew. So I'm glad to see this wasn't some instance of him spending most of the episode off doing his own thing. I also liked the storyline with Jane. It was fun to see her sort of trying to leave as the various different personalities and falling just short. We also got to see Diane Guerrero act out a new personality in terms of Scarlet Harlot. I don't know much about the character, but given what little I knew, I thought she was going to turn out to have something to do with the whole sexual energy sex demon thing. Maybe it's going to turn out she did later, but apparently she didn't. I don't know, maybe that was a misdirect, but it would have only been a misdirect for people who knew a lot about the comic book characters, so it would be a weird misdirect if it was meant to be one. And with that, the main storyline. That was definitely a case of Doom Patrol pushing it as far as they can, which I'm not complaining about. Why have a show that's sort of an R-rated superhero show if you're not going to take full advantage of it? This is not the Arrowverse. I actually found it pretty funny. I loved Cliff's line when Larry mentioned that he should go in because he's the only one that can't orgasm, and Cliff complained, "You're embarrassing me in front of the sex police." That was funny. Cliff was funny overall. I loved High on Ecstasy Cliff. I'm all for more of that. And I definitely thought it was creative and a little disturbing the way they solved it, but given the storyline, was it ever going to end any other way? The sex police, or whatever they called, were interesting. I'm assuming they're from the comics. I don't know, but everything else has been from the comics, so I can only imagine they were. That definitely sounds like something that would have been in the Doom Patrol comic. They were definitely funny and entertaining to watch. I'm a little unclear on why they didn't just shoot the sex demon when they saw it with those ray guns or whatever they were, those guns, when they were outside the room. I don't know why they didn't even try that. Did they run out of a special effects budget or something? Maybe they did. Sexy ghosts probably were cheap to make. I don't know. It was definitely a weird storyline, but it was very fun and entertaining, which is what this show does best. I also like to look into Rita's past and how she sort of threw her mom's own toxic words back at Dorothy without realizing it. It kind of threw back with what Larry said earlier about parents. And Rita, much like Cliff and Larry's kids, very much is a product of her parents' mistakes as well as the good things they did. Although, I don't know that Rita's parents ever really did that much good, but I think you know what I mean. We also got a nice bit of character development with Danny in that they're not going to let Dorothy be imprisoned inside them again. It was a nice bit of character development both for them and for Dorothy, as well as some nice character development for Niles, who has to face the reality that he made some very questionable decisions and should really try to do better. That's actually a reality he's been faced a lot, but with Dorothy, he definitely has been hesitant to face it the same way he's faced how he's wronged the rest of the team. So that was some good character moments for Niles also. All in all, this was a fun episode. This was kind of a return to form. I thought the last 3 episodes, while good, were a little lacking compared to last season, but this really felt like the kind of magic we had last season, and it definitely has me looking forward to more episodes. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share the video. I'm Dan the Man, and I'll see you next time.